Hi everyone, we're going to write a two-column paragraph proof. We're going to do a two-column proof to prove that line segment BD is also an altitude based on the way this triangle looks right there, that it's isosceles and that BD is the median. So we're going to prove that the median is also an altitude. All right, so let's get started. The first thing we want to write is the given. So for here, I'm just going to put for statements. I'm just going to draw an arrow here. This is your number one, and I'm just going to say copy this down. And that's because that's a given. All right, so that's number one. Number two, based off our given, I know that D is midpoint and I'm going to just really quick here move this line over a little bit. All right, sorry about that. Is midpoint of AC. And the reason for that is definition of midpoint. And that's also because it's the median. Definition of the median means D is going to be the midpoint. All right, so for 3, we know that these two sides are congruent. So AD is congruent to DC. And that's also definition of midpoint. All right, now for 4, we can say that AB is congruent to CB. And that's just definition of isosceles. It's already marked here. So that's definition of isosceles triangle. All right, and let's write, so based off that, we also know that this side, if you separate these triangles out, these are the same length here, so they're congruent. So the way we write that is we write that BD is congruent to BD. And that's your reflexive property of congruence. All right. Now, we do the statements. We're almost done. And reasons here. All right. So now, since we have all these sides are congruent based on what we just proved, we can say that the triangles are congruent. So triangle BDC is congruent to triangle BDA. And that's based off your side congruence postulate. Since the triangles are congruent, you can say these angles are congruent. You can say that angle BDC is congruent to angle BDA. And that's because if the triangles are congruent, the corresponding parts are. So the angles have to be congruent too. So that's corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. We also know because of that, we know that angle BDC and angle BDA form a linear pair. They're linear pairs. So right here, these two right there. And that's just definition of linear pair. And therefore, we know that since that's the case, since these are linear pairs here, let me get rid of this. So right here, we know they're linear pairs. We know that BD is perpendicular to AC. And that's because, and I'm just going to state it more because I don't have room to write, if two lines intersect to form a linear pair of congruent triangles, these triangles are congruent, then the lines are perpendicular. So again, if two lines intersect to form a linear pair of congruent angles, then their lines are perpendicular. So intersection lines that are linear pairs of congruent angles. Something like that. All right, and then finally we can say for 10, we can say that BD is also an altitude. Because that's definition of an altitude. Based off the difference between altitude and a median is the altitude forms a right angle. And so that's how you prove that. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.